You're telling me there's not an actual anthropomorphic mother goose?
All right.
Welcome to the God voice.
This is the dad voice. God is my daddy.
Daddy is my God. Wait. Oh.
It got weird.
Yeah.
Immediately.
As it does frequently in religious texts and religion.
That's
there's
right.
There's some wild chapters of the Bible, some very sexual ones.
There are. It's risque. It's like the smut my wife reads.
Yeah, literally. OG smut, man. Same looking guys wrote it too, probably.
Yeah.
Dudes with balding and just beards.
You know what I'm finding
in
out?
The basement.
Most of the most popular smut is written by alt women. Like
they know what. They know what.
Straight up goth mommies.
Yeah, because the men that write it are like, she bustily took her child to school in a robust and Rubenesque manner.
And sat on her robust
Her Nissan Kicks was
chair.
curvy.
Shout out to all the Kicks drivers. My wife drives a Nissan Kicks.
That was right for you.
But yeah, so if I don't know how they would have derived today's subject from that derailment.
Yeah, me neither.
Shows
you how this is going to go.
We're going to talk about morality, instilling values in your kids, and the role that religion plays. Now, I'm going to give a disclaimer / trigger warning / whatever you want to call it. This is your warning now. We are going to get into some hard to touch on subjects about religion and about faith and about how it affects our upbringing of our children and how it affected our upbringing. Yeah. But I am going to try to create a very fair space for all of this, so that way, because I don't want to seem. I know a lot of good people that have faith.
We're not going to be the cringe atheist Reddit mods.
Yeah,
like I'm past that point in my life, and so I think that's why it's good. I'm at a point where I can talk about it now. I am not mad. I'm not bitter. It's more of a mental exploration of, hey, some things in some religious settings growing up, how did they affect me long term?
Yeah.
And how is it still affecting me today?
And it's interesting because
because there are effects.
A lot of different religious overlap. Like when we lived in Georgia for a little bit, we went to a mega church for all intents and purposes. But I was raised primarily Catholic on my mom's side, Catholicism.
Boring. Actually, there's a lot of wild stuff in Catholicism.
Dude, Catholicism has all the Christian mythology tied to it like demons and shit, which is real cool shit.
It has that cool stuff that you can really read into.
Yeah, and they have the Vatican has all the protected ancient scribes and texts and stuff. It's wild. But again, we are let's go ahead and start rolling right into this. I want to say that let's just start with where we stand on it. Okay. I guess I would fall more under the term agnostic. And the reason I say that is because I have tried. Okay. I have tried to believe in a higher power. I have tried to find faith because I think it would be easier to cope with a lot of things in life if I could find that foothold in faith. I don't condemn people for having faith, but for me, logically, the logic side of my brain overrides so aggressively.
It literally doesn't let me.
It does, exactly. It doesn't let me believe. Yeah. And it sucks because, trust me, if I could, honestly, and I don't even want to be one of the good people that I know of faith because they still struggle with that shit. I would rather be the dumbest, just God hates gays, whatever. I would rather be that guy because his life is so simple. It's so black and white.
You have your chosen enemies, and that are the reasons why stuff may not work out in your life, and you have an explanation for where you're going to go when you die. So you're like, if I mess up in this life, all good.
Right.
I'll get maybe not another try at trying something else in this life in like a reincarnation sense, but
at least
Buddhist, I got a reward waiting for me.
And that also goes to say that like there are so many different religions, right? And the predominant one where we live in the United States is Christianity. Islam being, I think, globally the number one religion. And you would think by our current political stature that Christianity is under attack because that's what the current administration wants you to believe.
That's something I was going to talk about too. Growing up in a very large Southern Baptist megachurch, they make you feel like someone's always attacking you, and then you fucking realize everybody else is Christian too.
Yeah,
like all these people you're demonizing. Because one thing that just damaged me from being in the super Southern Baptist megachurch scene is everyone is othered. So you can't even watch a good movie or whatever without thinking, that actor's going to hell.
Yeah.
Why should I even bother, dude?
Yeah.
Why am I watching this film?
You can't, and we're going to take a side road here, and I'm going to bring it back, so just hang in there with me.
I will hang.
Early 2000s metalcore and post-hardcore, we've talked about this. Bands like Under Oath, The Devil Wears Prada, super prominent bands.
Yep. Love them too.
There was bands like For Today, The Crimson Armada. These bands were really Impending Doom, which was like the Christian deathcore staple. All of these bands went under this religious umbrella because it was easy for them to get shows. Yeah. Back in the day, people would book shows in churches, and there was this like unspoken rule that you could have non-Christian bands as long as one Christian band was on the bill at a church, because that Christian band could go, oh, we're using this bill to bring people who don't believe into the light of Christ. And if you are religious, or if you were raised religious, you know what that means.
That's the whole point. That's the whole
thing.
You're a lifetime salesman. Found out I didn't like sales too, so might be something with that.
Coming up in religion, it was easy for me to latch on to bands like that. And by the way, I still think Under Oath is one of the best bands to ever exist.
They make incredible music.
They do.
And it was easy for me to be able to listen to them because what I listened to was screened, and I was like, okay, it sounds demonic, but they're actually, like, these lyrics, they're Christian.
I remember I bought
so I was able to feel somewhat included in something, whereas I always felt excluded in every other pop culture because they were the others.
I remember I bought Green Day's American Idiot album. There's a song on that album called Jesus of Suburbia.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
At the time, my parents had just separated. We were living with my super Catholic godparents. My mom found the album, read the lyrics, and you would have thought they found a fucking corpse under my bed.
Yeah.
Because I came home and there was like a prayer circle. And there's other shit about what happened over there. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but like my cousin, god brother, whatever you want to call him, got caught choking the chicken, and he blamed me, saying I taught him, and we got kicked out of the house basically because of, and that story will become relevant as we drift further into this, because
you were black sheepish.
I was.
They were like, yeah, he would teach him how to choke his chicken.
Right. But there was also such a taboo around self-exploration because it was evil and demonic, which, by the way, I know I'm jutting off and making a bunch of little side roads here, but god damn it, everybody calls everything slightly fucking off color now demonic, and it is exhausting.
Yeah.
It sounds
new Satanic Panic.
The new one, and it's just everything on the internet.
Yeah.
Fucking, I'm so tired, dude. But anyways,
that's the devil's playground.
To pull back in, like, exactly what you said. You kind of got to my point before I did, which was it was easier to listen to bands like Under Oath, The Devil Wears Prada, The Crimson Armada, because you could show them the lyrics and you can go, hey, it's all good. And honestly, like Under Oath were their lyrics super Christian? Maybe one song per record was, but like
they put in their quota.
Can you feel your heartbeat racing? Can you taste the fear in her sweat? Like, that's not very religious vibes. You know what I mean? And neither were the other bands, but if you could, but you always very carefully directed them to that one song, right? And then what they didn't know is I was listening to bands like my favorite band, the Acacia Strain, way different.
Not a Christian band.
No, not at all. I was raised, and since I'm already talking, I'll just kind of get into my upbringing. We'll drift into yours, but like my dad and my mom for the first few years of my life weren't like super religious. We did go to church. We moved to Georgia, which was where my little brother was born. And when we spent that time in Georgia, we did go to a Southern Baptist mega church. I'm not going to name the church. But like the pastor there was just this super fired up dude, like screamed,
very angry,
like, you must come to the light of Christ, like shit like that. And that for me was my first exposure to religion. And for a while there, I latched on because there was so much fire in this guy and there was so much energy and there was this idea around it that everybody was a family. And when someone was struggling, the community really came together. But then as you get older and you get more wise to shit that's going on, you start to realize there were strings attached.
Yeah.
There were situations like my parents had intermarital problems and it became the church's business.
Because people are people no matter what.
People are people no matter what. And so
Haggles of gossipers.
As we left Georgia, we moved to North Carolina amongst my parents' separation. And so that's when we moved in with my godparents. I was an angry kid. I was looking for guidance. I went to a Catholic mass and I now realize that it was just the lulling nature of Catholic mass that I was feeling. But at the time I thought it was a sense of peace. And because religion was so heavily imposed, I was convinced by everyone around me that means that you found your place. Like, this is where you are meant to be.
Yeah. There's so much psychology that goes into it too.
And I'm sure that you have a lot of input on that.
I spent a lot of time thinking about it.
Want you to chip away at that. As I got through my time with them, and like, first off, I'm not condemning them for being people of faith. I will condemn the actions and the mentalities that were instilled because they were so blindly faithful to a religion. And for me, I don't care if you believe in God. As a matter of fact, I support you. If you believe in Christ, if you believe in God, if you believe in fucking Krishna, whoever, okay, I will. I'm like,
at least you believe in something.
Yeah, honestly,
more than I can say for myself.
I think that's something that a lot of people don't get about me. It's like, I wish that I was able to. It's not a reluctance. It is an inability. And that might be the autism, that might be the ADHD, but whatever it is, it's an inability to believe. It's not like I haven't fucking tried.
Yes, something does not allow me to.
Yeah.
Even if I try to force myself, something's like, no. No.
It doesn't
You mean
help.
well, but
right.
You're wrong.
It doesn't help that you start to, as in my most formidable years, I was seeing the unraveling of the hypocrisy in religion.
When you get a little peek behind that door, you start to notice a lot more things, and it just
because there is this constant talk about the unconditional love of Christ and the unconditional love of God, and Christ died to absolve all people of their sins, right? And he gave his life for that. But
hell yeah, sinner's hall pass.
His love does not extend to people who are gay. His love does not extend to people who are transgender. And by the way, this is just different language, but this was the same shit that they were using to justify segregation, okay? Believe it or not, in early America, black people were considered black people thought they were black because it was their sin showing through their skin.
Or they came from a culture that was demonic.
Right.
Because they believed
they
something
were tribal,
way different than
primitive
anything they'd
animals.
ever seen.
And it's like, okay. So they use that to justify their racism. And now
you get the one verse in the Bible that says slaves even need to obey their masters, and they just latched onto that. They were like, well,
just like
happened in the Bible, it's fine.
The misinterpreted line about lying with another man, which, by the way, the other beef I have is like, you're on the 75th iteration of the fucking Bible. Okay, this has been translated and retranslated. I hate to tell you, the original Bible wasn't written in fucking English.
Look, Jesus didn't have a single female disciple. Just throwing that out there. It was a bit of a sausage fest.
That's an interesting point. He was the only lady he was hanging out with was a fucking whore.
You know what's crazy is when people say live like Christ, I would love to literally live like Christ, just rolling around different places with your squad.
Me and 12 of my goons.
People are feeding you. People listen to you. Like, that's just what a modern podcaster
12 of my
is.
realest slimes. That's like that whole...
That's the dream. Being a roving ascetic is it's what I was meant to be, and I am trapped in this capitalist, boxy hellscape.
Which, by the way...
But I have nothing spiritual to offer.
Most people that I assume are listening at this point kind of agree or are willing to hear us out.
I am now fully of the thinking that nothing you say will ever change anybody's mind. It comes from a years-long process or a lot of hallucinogenic usage.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can physically change your mind. It's either or both.
Or both. But... the people that need to hear this most won't. But, fuck it. Shout it into the echo chamber, I guess. Capitalism and the teachings of Christ do not line up. And by the way, I've read the Bible.
Pretty incongruent.
I've read the Bible front to back about 4 times. I know what it says. Okay. I have done it because, again, I want the luxury of having faith. I've looked into the Bible to see, can I find what I'm looking for in this book? And there are a ton of great parables about morality.
Flipping that narrative definitely changes the whole scene of Jesus flipping the tables of the tax collectors and such. Like, imagine that whole scene would just not hit if he was just simping for billionaires. Yeah. And he was just like, dude, seed my project and like, I'll start shouting you out more in like my public speeches, man.
He went in and flipped the tables of the tax collectors because they were taking from billionaires and not from poor people.
Yeah, literally.
He was like, fuck you,
the wrong people.
He's like, get the poors.
Yeah.
We're dealing with mass deportations and that was against the teachings of Christ. But these people...
they just had infanticide.
Right.
King Herod and stuff.
The whole picture that this paints, it turns a lot of people off from religion. And it has made it incredibly difficult for me to approach religion at all with my child, which is now, as you see, I've pulled it back. I promised I would and I did. Yeah, nice. But... that's kind of why when you brought this up, I was like, it's going to be heavy. It's going to be a sticky one. Yeah. But I want to do it because my son just recently started learning about Greek mythology. And he was like, are the gods real? And I was like, no. But
they
some
were
people
to some
did believe.
People.
Yeah, and they were to some people.
That's funny because I started questioning when I started learning about Greek mythology, which would lend credence to the whole liberal education agendas getting them away from Christ. Because I was like, so if all those people, all they knew was those Greek gods that they were taught, they never had the opportunity to even know Christ. So how would they go to heaven? That's not fair.
Yeah,
and it just started to unravel from there. You're like, well, that ain't fair. They ain't never got a chance.
But the other part of that, yes. But to kind of bounce back to that liberal agenda remark, it's so funny to me because most of the people that I have ever spoken to that are atheistic saw the reality that they perceive, okay? Because the other part of this, by the way, and let me say this loud and clear, I acknowledge that I could be wrong. Yeah. That's part of what being
I most likely am.
Is, okay? I acknowledge that I could be wrong about all of this. I could be wrong and I could be set straight for hell.
That's fine. I panicked putting together my daughter's simple indoor trampoline. You think I have the answers to what actually goes on? No.
Not at all.
But it doesn't mean I'm not allowed to at least try and think spitball.
The thing that I will say is most people that I have spoken to have said that it wasn't the religion itself. It wasn't the teachings in the Bible. It wasn't a pastor giving a good faith sermon, right? Yeah. And telling you to be good to your neighbor. It was the fact that those people would sit there and listen to this pastor, or that pastor would sit there and preach, and then the rest of the week be absolute bastards.
And immediately go scream at the TGI Fridays waitress right after church. I've heard from many waitress friends that the after church crowd are the most demanding, and you know what, I'm broadly generalizing, but that's just what I've heard anecdotally from some people. And that's one of those things where you're like, man, so really this is just like a little hangout club, kind of.
Religion is such a suppressive tool too. Like it is a tool of fear that tends to teach people, hey, hide your shames.
You can play on people's ultimate fear, which is death too. Like it doesn't get. That's a layup for any bad actor to like want to influence people. Like that's an absolute slam dunk.
It's important to actually like that. That's important for me when talking to my kids about it, because my kids will inevitably make a friend with someone who's like, hey, do you want to come to church on Sunday? And my wife and I have talked about it, and we've decided that we will let them go to church. Yeah. And when they have questions, I'm going to give them all the information I have. And then if they decide, hey, I think you're wrong, I believe in this, very good. I will support you. When it comes to faith, I want my children to have the freedom that I didn't. I was told, this is what you should believe in. This is right. Everything else is wrong. This is the only way that you avoid infinite torture and
don't you
pain.
Dare try and think that it's not. Don't you dare try and take someone else's other side, because that's the devil tricking you.
That is the devil.
And you're constantly looking over your shoulder thinking, is this the devil tricking me? Is this a test? And you start to realize a lot of my personal anxiety, I feel like obviously I always had it, but it's exacerbated because you get this, everything becomes narrative driven. Everything becomes fictional almost. So you say, this thing happened. Well, it's because of this reason. Or, this is going to happen. I'm going to be fine. And you lose your sense of being able to, in the real world, plan stuff and do whatever. Because you're like, no, that was just a test. That's not something I need to worry about. And everything is such a driven narrative. It's like a fictional story. It's like a narrator talking in your head constantly. Like you have this other overlaying dude who's like, think about this in the biblical sense. What is God actually trying to tell you? And you start overthinking everything.
Yeah.
Like literally everything.
Like I think about now how my wife and I went about our relationship, went about having children. My children aren't baptized, which according to my religion, I've condemned them to hell for that. But
that sucks.
According to my religion, according to the religion I was raised in, I've condemned them to hell.
Have fun in hell with your family.
Hey, we'll be out together, and that's what matters, really. But like, my wife and I had that discussion early on.
Yeah.
Before we even were talking about marriage or kids, when we just sat down, we were like, hey, what are your beliefs? Because these are mine, and if we're not on the same page, that's going to cause problems.
And we were like that too, but it's also okay for beliefs to change over even a short period of couple of years, because my wife does dabble in church, and I know it make it sound like she's doing occult shit, but she does, and I am okay with it because I made sure the people at this church are good, and I'm okay with my daughter being there. It's not the fire and brimstone, everyone's against us kind of thing, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if my daughter asks me, I'm also not going to lie to her.
Right.
I'll be like, this is just what I think. I could be very wrong, though, and I often am. So,
and that's the pretense that I always approach religion with now, as my kid has asked other questions. But I always approach that with my son now as he's asking more questions. With that, I tell him like, hey, this is how I feel about it. And I've told him like I
basically just the equivalent of saying do your research.
Yeah.
Like,
well, no, I told him I was like, this is a very tricky subject to talk about because I don't believe in these things, but I don't want to tell you what to believe in.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing I can do for my kid, in my opinion, is to give him that open honesty.
Yeah.
And say, Dad doesn't believe in this. Not for lack of trying.
I don't know fucking shit.
I don't know shit.
I didn't do fucking shit.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Is so weird because, like, when I was a kid, I was introduced to it because we just went into church. There's
you know any different. This is what everybody does.
The opposite of that is very difficult to approach because, like, we're just not going to church. We don't go do anything religiously. And I have always been one to stand on business about fucking religion too, by the way. If your faith is the only thing that makes you make morally responsible decisions, you are not a good person. Take that as however you want to, but
the threat of punishment should not be why you're a good person. And that's why God's got his eye on you. He's like, you better fucking calm down.
He's like, get it together, bitch.
And that's why I think like it would almost be better if people were able to develop their own morals and then choose a religion, because you already have a base of what's right and wrong because it's right and wrong.
Right.
And I think that's a strange thing.
Look, I've never even had to tell my kid not to murder. Okay.
Yeah.
He just knows you just don't murder people. I've never had to tell my kid not to take anything. I've explained to him what stealing is and why it's bad, but I've never had to explain to him, don't take things that aren't yours, because he just kind of gets it.
Yeah. He's like, that makes sense.
I've never had to tell him treat others with compassion because he fucking gets it. Like there's never been a point in his life or mine where I've sat there and been like, maybe I'm not doing enough to teach him, because it comes naturally. And being a good person does come naturally. As a matter of fact, the hate that I see spread amongst primarily Christians, but you see hatred in Islam as well. Okay. And just like I know great Christians, I know great Muslims. Okay. Yeah. I know people that are able to look at the more extreme views of their religion, which is the homophobic, transphobic, racist views that those religions do generate. And they're able to go, that's not actually what.
Yeah, they're like, y'all are taking that text a little too far.
Yeah.
You're thinking too much into that.
I can tell you right now, the number one way to push your kid away from faith is when they come to you and go, I'm gay. And you go, got to pray that away.
Yeah, we got to fix this right now.
First off, I'm going to say this controversial thing that's been said several times, but I'll plant my flag too. If you think being gay is a choice, that's because you are choosing to be straight, which means that you're not actually straight.
Whoa. I didn't think about it like that before.
It's a very
projection.
It is. It's
a form of projection.
You think that it's a choice because you are making the choice. And that's something that a lot of people don't consider. If you think being gay is a choice, it's because you're choosing to be straight.
Yeah, whether you know it subconsciously or not.
I am a firm believer that sexuality is a spectrum. And this isn't the episode about sexuality. We can make one if we want to, but this isn't it, so I'm not going to get too deep into it. But I think that anybody who sits there and goes, well, being gay is a choice, it's because you're choosing. And that's why you think that way. And it's because you
think it can be because you are.
Yeah, you have the alternative choice, and you've seen that you can be attracted to the same sex, and so you just decide.
You're basically telling that kid or whatever. You're like, well, just do what I did and bury it, or distract yourself by working a lot.
Right, just bury it deep down.
Like we have done for a long time.
Bury it deep down in there and never bring it up again.
Drink a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not too much though, because starting to look sexy again.
But you know, like it, and I know it's a standing joke. Every time the RNC gets together,
the grinder
crashes,
goes down.
And it's because there's such a suppressive nature to that.
Yeah.
In religion. And it's time to get away from it, of course, but they won't, because it's a tool of control. And religion makes money, and it's untaxed, and it's another power structure that is imposed on people, and it's easy for them to use that power structure to manipulate, because you're promising heaven or threatening hell. And that allows you to control.
And to any rational person presented with that choice, I think they're going to pick heaven.
Yeah, because hell is terrifying.
Yeah.
That being said, if all the people that I've been told are going to hell are actually going to hell, I kind of want to go hang out with them.
We can record from hell.
Yeah, we're going to do the dad voice from hell.
It would just be very like...
I mean, our intro for the Dad Blast is already very fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Oh, and...
hey, yeah.
The new merch, man.
New merch, but that's your special merch.
Yeah.
But
it can be your special merch too.
If you guys like
$49.99.
If you guys like this, let us know. We'll print some more. This was a test.
Yeah, and the back says...
Oh, here we go. Yeah, full display.
Proud of you.
Proud of you. So that's a good little break from the fire and brimstone. But we're going to be there. We're going to be in hell, so, you know.
And I think the whole suppressing sexuality just in general is very not healthy too, because like me as well, like learning like, hey, we're not talking about sex, especially here in church. Like, we should just not even talk or think about it. You develop unhealthy habits.
You do.
With porn, and watching porn in secret can really warp your views of a real sexual experience.
Right.
Because you're dead silent, you're hiding it, you feel ashamed, and it's just one of those things where that's not how sex works in the real world. That is not a real sexual experience. That is you getting a means to an end real quick because you're a teenager feeling some type of way and you're having to hide it. So there's obviously something wrong with this. But why do I want to do it, 30 times a day in the bathroom? And you start to think, and you're like, God, well, why would God make me this way? And it also, as a kid, I was like, well, if it's not okay to be gay, then why did God let them become gay or whatever? Right. Like, why would he even let that happen? He's just creating ops for no reason, and they're just random people.
And that's why I started to ask questions, like that specifically.
And that's why they don't want you to ask questions.
Right.
They want you to ask a trusted pastor who can guide you.
Who is really good at spinning that shit.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And they want, like, I started to get a little weirded out when the church started inserting themselves into marriages of people around us.
Yeah.
And they would have people come and stand in the middle of a circle and they'd pray over them and they'd say, bless her womb and shit. Why is that something that you're bringing to the church?
And when you allow them to do that, you are giving them more power and you become more invested because you're like, oh man, like we need to come to more church events and donate more money because...
And the other side of that, too, is...
It's a lot of placebo effect. Like, he healed our marriage. No, you did it knowing that it is possible.
And did it really heal the marriage? Because everything that I saw and everything that I witnessed was a fear. It's just perpetuating that fear of hell. If you don't get this right, divorce is seen as bad in the eyes of God. So you have only one choice. Fix this marriage or spend an eternity.
You got to keep doubling down and be miserable.
That's right.
There's no way out.
And so that stuff, like seeing that, and then in addition, watching, I had gay friends take their own.
Yeah. We had the mutual one.
Yeah.
And that was, and she lived near someone who was at my church in that same cul-de-sac, and they didn't respond to it very kindly.
Right.
And I mowed their grass, and it was just, I was like, is this what the world God wants?
I remember the first time I ever experienced that. The brother of a member of the church was a homosexual, and he tried to come out to his family. He was in his late 20s, early 30s, and he was condemned. And he went into his truck. He opened his Bible to a page where it was clear that he was battling with a question of forgiveness and will I ever make it to heaven? And he killed himself. And I can tell you right now that you can defend Christianity all you want. You can defend your church all you want. But if you are perpetuating that someone is going to burn because of something that they have no control over, that is not what Jesus would want. Based on the teachings that I know.
If it makes you feel uncomfortable in your stomach, it's probably wrong. And a lot of times when that happens, you have the parental urge to want to accept them, but the fact that you feel like you can't, you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to go thump through the Bible or whatever and just make myself feel better about the fact that I can't do this. You're confining yourself
to a book this thick to provide you an answer to a question that requires much more nuance than a scripture written thousands of years ago can provide you. Okay, that's just not and religion has always, if I am wrong, under the pretense that I am wrong, under the pretense that Christ really did do all that stuff.
I hope we, after this, realize that we were very wrong and that there is heaven and all that, and then we're just like, oh, I can finally not be anxious anymore.
Yeah, man. God, I'm just relieved.
Thank God.
I know I'm in hell, but I'm relieved to know.
User 52643 commented something on our thing and brought us to Christ, and we're not doing the podcast anymore. God's going to guide us in our careers, and we're going to be normal people, and
we're the God Voice podcast.
The God Voice.
Seems a little bit blasphemous.
That's a little blasphemous.
Looking at the Bible, looking at that, it's a series of lessons. You read Mother Goose. You read the stories of.
You're telling me there's not an actual anthropomorphic Mother Goose?
No, not.
Oh, so I shouldn't take everything literally.
Right.
Gotcha.
And a lot of people love to lean into Revelations as the end all be all, which it was a
hallucinogenic fever dream
of John the Baptist. Okay. Like,
dude was eating mushrooms and stuff on an island. He was starving.
Bonkers out of his fucking skull.
This is Baby Billy's Bible Bonkers. Bible Bonkers. Bible Bonkers. Bible Bonkers.
Exiled. He knew society didn't like him anymore.
That being said,
that's going to affect your writing a little bit.
Makes crazy good fiction writing.
It's cool. I used to always, all the secret emo kids always read Revelation in church when the preacher's preaching.
You were like, oh shit. And that was the scariest time because you're like, oh, the dragon's going to come and
and you're like, okay, is that like a Black Hawk helicopter? And you get a lot of the end of the world things too. And that was a lot of the people surrounding me, like at this big mega church, it was very end times. Like they're like, it's coming.
Controversial things going to be said here, but if you're into Revelations and you believe all of that, Donald Trump should be raising red flags for you as the Antichrist all over the fucking place.
It's bad enough to where he's actually making me think that Christianity's true.
It is true.
That's how much of the Antichrist.
The mark for the Antichrist so aggressive.
I've thought about that the other day. I was like, he literally fits it to such a T that I might actually be wrong and Christianity's right.
Yeah,
I was like, this is uncanny.
Yeah.
This is insane.
And
gold everything.
Baal wore their marks on their foreheads, and it's just, you think about the MAGA hat,
and that's why it's so easy to take these kind of texts and just skew them however the hell you want, because they're
so if you take issue with the way that we just skewed Revelations to say that Donald Trump is the Antichrist, maybe reconsider the way that you're translating the Bible yourself.
Or you might say, well, it almost brought him to Christ, so
we almost got you,
dude. It's literally so uncanny that I almost started believing again. I was like, might be.
Somebody broke it down too, and because it was said that the Antichrist would emerge from the Middle East, but because the books of the Bible were written in the Middle East, that would put America as the Middle East of the Middle East. So,
boy, we are the land of gluttony too. Oh shit.
Biblically, we might be in the end times. But hey, if the rapture happens, property values are going to sink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Decimated homes, we can rebuild.
All joking aside, okay, it is an important conversation to have with your kids. And if you thought this was an advice piece, I don't know the right way to do it. I'm not giving advice. Okay.
This was not a dadvice.
No, this is us talking about something that it is a good subject that we had plenty to say about.
We're two dudes in a treehouse tackling all of humanity's life questions they've wrestled with about what's out there. And you know what? Honestly, I've come full circle. I was a very militant atheist because I was angry about how much of my teenage years, I missed out doing stuff with people and knowing these fun comedy movies and stuff that were rated R because they were un-Christ-like. And I got over that anger. I'm good now. And my beliefs are so weird now. It's almost like science has brought me back to a slightly more mystical space too. Because once I was introduced to the idea that there's maybe other dimensions and stuff, I'm like, okay, well, maybe these things, they're not named Jehovah per se, but I am kind of like gods. But they're not.
So far, the
other
direction now that I'm starting to take more, root in like the outer gods beliefs, like the Lovecraftian, like entities that don't give a shit about us, but represent like just chaos and distortion and exist in realms that exist but beyond time and space. I'm more likely to believe in that.
Yeah, and that's one comforting thing for religion is like, this is all planned. There's not chaos. Like, you don't have to worry about that. And when you have anxiety, that's a really nice pill to swallow.
Dude, I'm terrified of dying.
And the thing that,
say that now.
I have this distinct memory. I was at Bible school at this big Southern Baptist megachurch. They made us read this book called like Don't Check Your Brains at the Door or something. It's like a pseudo-intellectual, Christian writer guy who tries to explain things to kids. And obviously the question that most kids have is, it was centered around the story of like maybe a 4-year-old girl who was stung by a bee, severely allergic, died. And the parents are like, why? Why would God let this happen? And it really didn't give a good answer. It basically was just like, because
it's God's
He
plan.
Called her home. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that means my little brother or somebody could just get called home at any second, and I can't question that. Right. But it's also terrifying to think that it's chaos,
It also removes responsibility. Like, if my wife
should have had an EpiPen.
if my wife took the kids out, they were hit by a drunk driver, and I lost my whole family. From my perspective, that drunk driver is the reason that it happened.
Yeah.
He decided to drink, or she, or they, whatever. Decided to drink.
Got to make sure to not misgender your piece of shit drunk drivers, dude.
They decided to drink, get behind the wheel, and it's their fault that my family is gone. From a religious perspective, I'm not allowed to question that. I'm not. That is God's plan. That man was a vessel of God's plan.
And you have to sift through that, and they'll be like, well, now you need to use that. And it's like, dude, I don't have the energy to use that right now. Are you kidding me? I'm broken.
I'm telling you right now, if I lose my whole family, I'm probably just going to join them. Like I either that or become a crazed, I think we've talked about this, crazed man in the mountains that just like Unabomber status.
I would be a homeless stand-up comedian on the streets of LA, period, who's addicted to drugs.
I would move somewhere where
I would try to make something out of this life in a very nihilistic way of, well, that didn't work out. Being normal.
That's such a different thing than what I was ever taught. Is like you have to accept pain, you have to accept, and it does not make any sense for an omnipotent, omniscient God to have sacrificed his only son so that we may be absolved of sin, but then continue to let sin go. And I get the whole perspective of free will, but then you have to acknowledge that either he's omniscient and he knew that giving free will would allow us to become this, because I don't know who's looking at this world and going, this is exactly what God's vision was, but the world is on fire. People are dying for no reason. People are homeless when they don't need to be. There are children starving while the wealthy amass more and more wealth, despite being called religiously to give to the needy, okay? There is nothing about this world that screams God, but you want me to believe that this God that knew that this was going to happen and had the power to stop it decided your suffering is your only ticket into heaven. You must suffer and you must accept it and you must thank me for it. You thank God for all that suffering because it conditioned me to be able to accept paradise better. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
What a heavy thing for like a 7-year-old to have to believe too, which is what we did, with grappling with that. You're like, I just want to worry about like playing Spyro on the PlayStation.
But Spyro is demonic.
Yeah, Spyro's demonic. I was one of those kids who couldn't watch Harry Potter.
Honestly, if you think we're demonic for pointing all these plot holes out, comment below. Just say promo code demonic, you know?
Yeah. Ooh, proud of you.
I want Liquid Death to sponsor us, and we're going to use promo code demonic. That'd Liquid
awesome.
Death, hit me up. Hey, religion is such a weird space to be in. It's a weird thing to talk about. It's an uncomfortable thing to talk about, but it's something that I don't think enough people talk about.
It's uncomfortable to talk about, and you're like the whole crux of our conversation right now is talking about a bunch of different fictional books that societies build everything around. And when you start with that, you're like, holy cow, like it's ingrained in everything. And we're like, we're not even sure if this is real. And we're basing everything on this.
Yeah.
And I guess some would say, well, that's faith. Like, okay.
And the sudden declaration that America is a Christian nation, despite most of the founding fathers being atheists, is bizarre to me.
Well, they also own slaves, so checkmate, atheists.
Checkmate, atheists.
Atheists equal bad.
Religion has only ever in my life been used as a suppressive force. And, I talked about it earlier in this episode, just a few minutes ago, about how when we moved in with my godparents, who are super religious Catholic people, I still to this day don't know the full happenings of the situation. My god brother was caught. I think he was getting a bath from his parents, and there was some irritation on his junk, which as a parent, like, it's a weird thing to say, but you should be like keeping track of your kid's body at a young age. I personally think if he was old enough to be touching himself, he's maybe a little too old to be taking baths where the mom and dad were present, but whatever, that's not what this is about. However, he got caught touching himself, and whatever was said, which I still have never even been allowed to plead my case, but whatever was said, it was blamed on me. I think it was probably something to the effect of, he taught me. And I probably did. Like, I probably
in like a healthy brotherly way.
Yeah. Like, also, it's hard for me to remember everything. I just remember this specifically because it was one of those moments that I cite a lot of my clarity on. But that whole area of my life is a bunch of big black spots because of all the trauma. So there's a lot that I'm probably still missing from the context around that. But I just remember sitting downstairs, being told, stay down there, don't come up. Being told I needed to sleep in a different room because at the time I was sharing a room with him and his other brother. That I'm not going to get too into the details, but every kid that was within puberty age in that household was sexually curious. And they were talking about it with me because I was the one that was slightly older and had already started.
You're like, I've been down this path too.
Right. Kids experiment. It's a thing that they do, whether they're, J.D. Vance style fucking your couch, pushing their dick in between whatever cracks.
No harm done.
Rubbing themselves against corners of furniture, whatever it might be. That's part of them learning their body. Yeah. That's part of them learning how the world works. And in religion, because of how it just condemning anything like that was, it was so taboo to talk about. And in reality, they as parents should have just had a healthy conversation with their kid and said, hey, you're going to touch yourself sometimes. Feels good. Don't do it in front of people.
Don't do it in public.
Don't do it in public. And don't force it on other people.
Yeah.
And I've already started we haven't had the sex talk with my son. We're kind of like waiting to see if it naturally comes up because he just hasn't asked the question, where do babies come from? I thought for sure it was going to be
when you had a little baby like a couple years ago.
And he was like, no, he's like, that's cool that you guys
He's like, no, these things happen.
Yeah, he was like, that's basically, he was like, my hands are clean of this. When the conversation comes up, we're going to have the conversation about sex, of course, but like I've already started instilling the values. Like there'll be times where my oldest will tickle my youngest, and my youngest will get irritated because he gets overstimulated, and he'll say no or stop or start to kind of cry. And I have to stop my oldest and go, if he's telling you he doesn't want to be touched, you do not touch him.
Yeah.
There is a simple yes or no. If you have been given permission to touch him, that's fine. If he is asking you to stop or to not do it at all, don't do that. These are basic concepts of consent, and I didn't have to have God involved at all for that shit. That, to me, is allowing me to pave the way for a much healthier conversation about sexuality, about how people work. And with religion, that was dude, I didn't figure out. Luckily, I had the moral values instilled that no means no. Like I never really had to be told that.
Yeah, that was one of those things where you didn't question it.
Right.
You're like, yeah, that makes sense.
You said no, I gotcha. But figuring sex out, like just understanding that you can't just be this constant, like weird fucking pent up dude that's just like in a relationship is like, I just need to fuck all the time. Like you need to level yourself.
And they were never taught a lot of times in a healthy way how to properly approach women and stuff, because it was like, we're not even talking about that because it's against the Bible and it also just makes me uncomfortable.
And as if anything in religion, I've noticed that the teachings kind of go the opposite direction. Like as soon as you marry your wife, like hate to invoke the name of the late and not great Charlie Kirk, but like he's a perfect example of what those ideologies look like when you're not told. Yeah, in practice, when you're not told differently. And his whole belief was that, oh, my wife should be subservient to me. If I want to fuck, she's going to be there to fuck. And that's her job. And then she raises the kids and feeds them and cooks me fucking dinner. And then we wonder why Erica Kirk's coming out the fucking fireworks 3 days after his death.
Boy, she's been on a tear.
She does not give a shit. At the same time, she's sitting on a multi-million-dollar, like she's making a fuck ton of money by sitting there going.
She's got power now too.
She does.
She has power that was being suppressed.
She has power that was taken from her.
She was probably always this outspoken and wanting to be a career person, but she was not allowed to.
And if you follow the path, like the trail, she has weird, deep ties to other things, especially like this orphanage in Romania. And she knew Trump before because she was in one of his pageants and stuff. So you can get into the conspiracy weeds. But
couldn't do an episode without having to get into some kind of conspiracy weeds.
But yeah, I know this one it might be polarizing. For our audience, we might lose some, we might gain some. I don't know how this is going to go. But
it's God's will.
Whatever it is, it's God's will. But also, like, if you are religious, I think you have every right to know that this is how we feel. So to me, it's just leveling out the playing field and letting you know where we stand on the matter, because we're never going to be we're like, none of the lessons, none of the advice that we provide on this podcast will ever be rooted in religion. Okay. It's never going to be a faith-based conversation. And some people might find that relieving. Some people might find that disturbing, but either way, I feel like it's better to have it all on the table. You know what I mean?
And guess what? Just because we don't, I promise I have no intentions to attack your faith. I'm too exhausted of a person to go out of my way attacking people.
Right. I encourage you to get in the comments or shoot us a message and say, hey, this is why I think you're wrong about this. I am open to polite discourse. I'm open to having the conversation. I'm open to having someone of faith, of a faithful position, come in and talk to us. Yeah. Like, I'm not opposed to that.
That'd be great.
As long as it is polite and as long as it's not you just hearing but you listening and we giving you that same exchange of listening to what you're saying, because there are people that are people of faith that will tell you, I have experienced something that has given me that faith. There are people that have had experiences that there's no other explanation in their mind other than faith and Christ or God or whoever.
And that's perfectly fine as long as you're not harming anyone.
That's right. But at the point that your faith becomes a weapon, that's where I fall off. And so that's my closing thoughts on the matter. I know we're hitting time. It was a heavy episode. I'm glad we had the conversation. Like I said, I'm glad you brought it up. I'm sure there's so much more to be said.
Oh, we can make 40 episodes about it. We'll make another one when we ultimately upgrade our equipment again.
Yeah.
Just like we're going to eventually do another video game episode.
Yeah, dude. That one's probably sooner than later.
Yeah.
But, like I said, open to the discourse, open to people telling us that they think we're wrong. That's
not
the whole
just
thing.
Because it's engagement.
Yeah, right.
But that's part of it.
That is part of it.
See, I won't lie to you at least.
Right. But this is a public forum, right? Like we are putting this on God's internet for the rest of the world to see. So that being said, we're accepting of what's going to come of this if people decide it'd be weird that this is the episode that people finally start to really engage with.
I may disagree with those guys on some things. I'm like, didn't occur before.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty obvious.
This was the one? Okay. Sure.
We're developing a good echo chamber, and we have been. I don't think it'll cause too much controversy or surprise anybody who knows us.
Quote unquote liberal echo chamber, as that guy on TikTok said.
Thank you for saying that. That assumes that we have a following.
Yeah,
nice.
Thanks. Thank you for assuming that we have people.
We have enough people to have an echo chamber.
But
no, actually, empty rooms echo more than anything.
But if you're not completely turned away from us, give us a follow, a like, subscribe. You can find us, the Dad Voice Pod, on all social media.
Yeah.
If you
damn
want
near
everything. If you want to ask for advice on a subject that's not religion, hey, I don't know how to do this part of fatherhood, or I wanted some more thoughts on this concept of fatherhood, email us at thedadvoicepod@gmail.com. Subject line dadvice. You can remain anonymous. You can ask us your question or ask us for help on something and stay completely anonymous. We don't have to call you out. If you don't care, you can put your name in there and you'll be on the episode. We'll shout you out. We're back. The next few weeks are probably going to be weird. It might be like one episode a week and alternating Dad Blast and full length episodes, but we will be back to our normal rhythm soon enough.
Yeah.
I appreciate this one will be coming out after the new year. The Dad Blast, I know, will land right on New Year's Day, so this one will definitely be after. But we're glad to have you here. We have a lot of big plans for 2026.
I won't even say it.
Yeah.
I won't say big things coming.
But you just said it. Yeah, all right. Big things coming, guys. However, we just want to grow this in a way that, just feels right and natural. I don't want this to become a thing where, people think, oh, it's like a selling out thing. I want to make sure we're connecting with the right people. So we are going to have a lot more real conversations like this coming into this next year. But another thing we're going to be doing is we're going to reach out to our community. I think we already have some plans for a tattoo shop or two. But if you work, and maybe, just maybe, we might launch a Patreon, and our first video could be me and Phil getting dad voice tattoos, butthole tattoos for the Dad Voice. It's going to be the mustache. It's going to be a mustache on our buttholes. Wow. That being said, no, we do want to reach out to our community. So if you run a local business, if you want Well, I think one thing I want to start doing this year is doing a shout out for businesses. So and then if you want to run advertising, we're about there. We're about at the point where we can start taking small advertising bids. We will do reads for you, but the shout outs are free.
We won't screw it up. It'll be good.
The only thing I say, and I keep telling people this because people have just jumped right in and been like, hey, I want to do this. And then I'm like, go listen, like check out our clips, listen to the content.
Make sure we,
if you
not necessarily agree on everything, but
that you don't mind associating your business with us.
There you go.
And so what I will say is, because at this point, anybody listening, if you're going to recommend this to someone that you know that has a business, I assume if you're listening and you want to do it for your business, it's not going to be a problem. But if you think, hey, I might recommend this to my friend, make sure they listen. Yeah. Make sure they check it out, because I don't want a lawsuit because they were like, yeah, I want my, business to be involved with this podcast. And then all of a sudden they're like, whoa, they're not religious. And
yeah, they're like, my birdhouse making business, I just wanted to have some ad time, but they're talking about just vasectomies constantly and just using vulgar language, and also they don't agree with me on anything. And,
this was just a bad placement for me. Yeah, so don't do that. If you think that you know of a business that could benefit from it, and just let them just check it. If you have an episode in mind, suggest it for them, and let them see us before doing that. Anyways, that's my whole closeout spiel. Did you have anything?
Boy, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
A lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack. Dad formations. Happy New Year. You're doing great. If you decided to commit to a diet, you're probably already starting to feel the strain, but you can do it. Pull through. But you know what? Just also don't force yourself to be miserable. There you go.
You know what? 2026 is going to be better than 2025. But if it's not, I guess you always have 2027, maybe.
Maybe. It's going to be a year. So we're glad to have you guys here, though. Hopefully this year is just phenomenal for us, and we get to build our community, because that's all we want to do. But yeah, we'll see you guys next episode.
Right. Goodbye.